Do you understand what I'm saying? So a big, huge, fat lie. And I will not allow that lie.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Sonically podcast where music creators educate music creators. I'm Elmo. In this episode, we're honored to be joined by one of the most electrifying, influential voices in modern African music, Femi Kuti. The eldest son of Afrobeat pioneer Fela Kuti, Femi has built a powerful legacy of his own over the past 3 decades, blending explosive horn arrangements, socially conscious lyrics, and high energy performances that ignite stages around the world. Now, Femi is preparing to release his brand new album, Journey Through Life, dropping April 25th, which is deeply personal and reflective body of work that chronicles love, resilience, and his ongoing dialogue with a rapidly changing world. In today's episode, we'll talk about his most iconic songs, his growth as an artist, the creation of his new album, and the musical and spiritual path he's traveled along the way. So without further ado, let's welcome the legendary Femi Kuti to the Sonically podcast. Hey, Femi, how's it going?
Thank you, Elmo. Thank you very much.
No problem. No problem. We're so excited to have you on the show because obviously you have a incredible story, incredible journey that you've been chronicling as a music creator over the years. I'm wondering if we could rewind the clock back to the beginning. As we all know that you grew up in a household full of iconic people. Your father was Fela Kuti. And the first question is, how was your experience growing up with music in your life?
Wow. Let me start by saying my father wasn't the conventional father who would like do your homework, take you to school. And so, but music was always around me. I mean, I think I remember from 5, 6 when he used to rehearse with his band. I remember him giving me the trumpet. I was about 7 going on 8. And then he gave me the sax at about 14, 15. And, and it was always, okay, here's the instrument, go and teach yourself. And the older I got, it was like, how do you want me to teach myself? You know, it was very, my childhood was very confusingly complicated because everybody thought that being Fela's son, I would be getting the best musical education. I probably say I had the best experience. But the formal education I lack, and the only way I could make up for that was double my efforts everywhere, practicing, working as hard as possible in every area I could. And then it was just a matter of how would I become a musician? When? I mean, my father was huge, and everywhere I went to was, when are you going to be a musician? When are you going to start playing? I joined the school band, and everybody thought I was the greatest saxophonist. I knew I was lousy. I was just pressing any notes. And then I moved to my father's house. I bought a saxophone tutor, how to play the saxophone, and started to teach myself. It was a crazy time. Well, I managed, his band leader started to teach me Babani. He taught me for about a week and a half or 2 weeks. I'm not sure exactly. And my mother was, why don't you send him to school like your father sent you? And he was saying, no, he doesn't want me to have this Western education. If he must send me anywhere, then he'll send me to Ghana. This is in West Africa. My mother got angry. Well, they had this big argument. I ended up going nowhere. So I bought this how to play the saxophone, and I said to teach myself, and this is how I basically learned till I joined his band. My first recording was in '79 with my father was recording with Roy Ayers somewhere in the western part of Nigeria. And my father just says, hey, you are ready to play. Okay, get your sax, come and play. And I was like, I'm ready to play? How? You know, I was shivering like you put me in the middle of winter somewhere, Eskimo land. Well, I managed the recording, and the rest is history, really.
How did you stay motivated during those times? There must have been days where you got very discouraged, and being self-taught is not an easy thing to do. So what was the engine behind your motivation?
See, most of my friends, I could say, probably all of them went to university. So it was a general talk in town that I would become a complete failure in life. I had no formal education. I had no musical formal education. And I remember my father's family having several meetings that you're going to ruin this boy's life. And my father would say, I know what I'm doing. And he will ask me, do you trust that I know what I'm doing? I'll say, yes, you know what you're I always supported him. And, but in my silent moments, I was like, wow, how am I going to do this? And so when I started playing in his band, I mean, he had a huge fan base, and everybody was, yeah, a great saxophonist. You're going to be the best saxophonist. You know, I was smoking. I think I got carried away. In 1984, he was wrongfully jailed. So I moved. In 79, I ran away from because I used to stay with my mother. So I ran away from my mother's house and moved to my father's house. And this was what I wanted all my life, to move into Kalakuta. So the opportunity came. So I got there. Kalakuta was like a big party. So my mother was very angry. So when he got wrongfully jailed, I moved back to my mother. And my maternal grandmother was like, what kind of musician are you? You're the lousiest musician I've ever heard of. You don't practice. Your tone is horrible. You know, and I was like, Fela son, arrogant. How dare you speak to me like this? But that was the talking to that saved my life, I think. I cried that night and I was like, how am I going to do this? I wept and wept all night. In the morning, I picked up my sax and I could hear her saying, I gave him a piece of my mind. She's very British. And I could hear her telling my mom, what I braved it. I picked up my sax and I vowed to always do a minimum of 6 hours practice. I brought out all my jazz records, Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Duke Ellington. I said to listen to some classical music, just listening to everything possible. The blues, started to watch movies on how the blues started, bebop, anything I could from jazz, because I really love jazz. I hated jazz at the beginning because we were more in the funky area of the 70s, Temptations, Dana Summer, Dana Ross, Michael Jackson, reggae, and things like this, Bob Marley, Peter Tosh. And my father called me one day and says, if you want to be a musician, you have to listen to jazz or else you are going nowhere. So I tried to listen to it on the radio and it sounded so bitter. I said, what is this rubbish? Unfortunately, a girlfriend of mine paid my way to America, and he says, "Oh, since you're going to America, buy this album by James Moody. It's called Moody's Mood for Love." So I get into the studio, to the radio record store, and I see Moody's Mood for Love. The radio record store attendant says, "I've got another copy from George Benson. Do you want to try and listen? Very funky." I said, "Oh, my father doesn't know about this. Let me take it back to him. Yeah, I'm going to show him my got taste too. So I go back and I gave him the one of George Benson. He says, are you stupid? I said, by James Moody. Moody's Mood for Love. You think I don't know George Benson? I could have told you to buy that. He was kind of upset. And I said, I got it as well. He said, then go and listen to it. So I go to listen to it. And I remember, I said, well, it's not bad. I said, oh, okay. And I said, okay. So I go back, I pick up one of my Charlie Parker tapes and play it. And it's going, I was like, what? 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 Is this, are these humans playing? And I'm, wow. So I look at my sax and I'm saying, when will I ever be able to, so I put the sax far away and I was looking at it, I said, I'm lost. This is impossible. So, but that saved me as well because I knew I could never be Gillespie or Charlie Parker. So I said, okay, let me look for Femi Kuti. My life was so chaotic. There's all these great artists playing wonderful improvisations and dexterity. And then my father so huge. And I'm lost in this chaos. And I'm like, wow. So I just said to practice my skills until I moved to my mother's house and I got that talking to. So I started off again, practice doing it, all the skills, just started to read books on music, um, autobiographies of any artists of the greats I knew about and I admired, to hear what their histories were, what their life was about. And I started to write my numbers, and what was most, when I left my father, his fan base turned completely against me. And it was, how dare you fight Fela? But it wasn't a fight, it was, I was lost. I couldn't, I had no formal education. How was I going to become a great musician? How? I didn't know. I was lost. I was crying inside me 1,000 times, and people didn't understand it. They thought I was doing what I was doing because I was protesting. My father was seen as an activist. You don't dare fight somebody who's an activist. Everybody forgot it was my father. Everybody forgets. I um I'm in this storm, and nobody wanted my point of view. And well, I just I just focused and just said, I can't turn back right now. I'd rather die. It's better I die trying than give up. So I just continued going, and I've never stopped since then.
At some point, did your father compliment you?
The first time he heard my first album in '89, he came to the launching and he was, this is rubbish. And he went on stage, said it to the press. I was so upset. He said, how dare you? How dare you say that? You are the last to even say that. I mean, I was very upset. I don't let me keep the rest of my viewpoint to myself. And then the next time he saw me, because in 1991, my father said stop having it. He used to play 4 times and he cut his gigs down. He cancelled. He used to play Tuesday, ladies' night, Fridays, Yappies night, Saturdays, comprehensive, and Sunday jump, which was a very traditional. He used to start in the afternoon and end early evening, about 9 or so in the evening. And so it comes to my maternal mother's, um, I can't remember if it was a 60th. And he comes and he says, what are you doing now? I said, well, we're looking for places to play and we don't have any. He said, okay, do you want to play at the shrine? I said, yes. I think that date was 27th of September. It was the last Sunday of 1991 in September. I can't remember. I think it was 27th. I need to check that out. And so he says, okay, I will advertise it for you. I'll tell all my fans to come and watch you. I'll be there. So we're all excited. My band, the Positive Force, we're all excited. And then he hadn't heard me since '89. And I had a very big hit, which was not recorded, called No Place for My Dream, and another track called Mind Your Own Business. And people, his fan base used to come and watch us rehearse. So they knew. And they were like, wow, he's matured, he's grown up. But my father didn't know. And I had a lot of, let's say, people that didn't like me in Kalakuta because um, for some reasons, maybe I'll talk about it one day, and they were telling him, oh, it's not good. So my father comes to the first Sunday job and we play this track, No Place, and he was like, not bad. And then we played, which was his favorite track before he died, Mind Your Own Business, which goes, ba-da-da-ba-ba, ba-ba-da-ba, and he got up and he says, what? And my elder sister looked at him and he got up and started dancing. The whole priest went wild. And he says, you did this? He was shocked. I think in the years, the transformation was, he says, come and see me tomorrow. So I go to see him and says, wow, you composed all that? Wow, and it was, wow, yes. And that never left my memory. And then he went to the press one day. He now went to the press and said, yes, everybody says I don't know what I'm doing. Is this not the boy you all said will be a failure? Have you heard him? Have you heard him? And you tell me I don't know what I'm doing. So technically, you could say he was right, but probably.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been such a confidence boost because from there you went on to make massive hits like Bang Bang Bang, Truth Don't Die, and Stop the Hate, which resonated with audiences all over the world. Are you able to walk us through some of the creation stories for those songs?
Bang 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 is more about sex. I was so political at that time, and I thought it was getting boring. You know, I was getting so boring. So you see, I was already getting bored about saying the same thing: no electricity, bad healthcare already. Then, and I said, okay, let me sing. I couldn't sing about love the American way, so let me sing from an African perspective and just describe the sexual encounter my way and make it funny because the way we talk about sex is not that serious. It's funny. We laugh about it. So I said, okay, let me try and find this is going to be difficult. Let me put it in a song. So that's how. So I heard this melody. Bow, 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 bow. I said, wow, good melody. This was at midnight. So I said, oh, midnight. I looked at, okay, so midnight, this melody. Okay, the time is 12 midnight. And then I describe. So I go to tell my mother, who happened to be awake, I want to sing about it. She said, what? You want to sing about this? No, I said, well, I did sing about it and became one of my biggest hits. Truth Don't Die was a girlfriend I had. Wow, she could lie. She lied like, I come from a very strict home that don't lie no matter what and accept when you are wrong. And up till today, we practice this in my house. Stop beating around the bush. You are wrong, you're wrong. And the way I even see it right now is there's a physical damage and spiritual damage. So when you hurt yourself spiritually, it's like cutting yourself spiritually with a knife. And the only way to heal is to accept you are wrong when you are wrong, or else you keep on killing yourself spiritually. It's like you break your finger and you keep on breaking it and you will never heal. So the same way. So don't when you're wrong in my house, look, I'm wrong. I'm really sorry. Really be sorry. We all know you're not going to fool anybody around us here, you know. And then you heal and the rest of us heal as well. Because what you have done is you have hurt everybody here. And so that's so when I was like, wow. So I took it from said, wow. So I said, you can lie. I told her, I said, and she laughed. She said, well, the truth is dead. Truth don't die. I said, yeah, truth is dead. That's why all the politicians are liars. So I said, okay, I'm going to write a song for all of you and the politicians. So I now create Truth as a body who had an accident. He was on his way. Truth said he was going to teach the world that it's good to be truthful, blah, 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 blah. So there will be peace and love. But on his way, he had a bad accident and a trailer hit him and crushed his head. So Truth died. I said, because Truth died is why everybody's lying and there's so much chaos because Truth is dead. So I was going to write another song that, do you know Truth had a baby? I've been trying to think of how to put that in. Maybe that'll be one of my next albums to describe how Truth had an affair and he had a baby hidden somewhere who's fully matured now.
You could put the Bang 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 like kind of in the middle of that.
Yes, you get it. And Stop the Hate was more, me getting really fed up with everything. So look, stop the hate, man. Why? What's wrong with everybody? I can't understand. I was telling somebody yesterday, everybody should learn an instrument. You see, and then you see how tedious and complicated. Because I picked up the trumpet 25 years ago and I was so angry. The trumpet felt like an Uzi. I wanted to just kill everybody. I was such an angry person, touring, seeing how developed countries were developing and Africa was going backwards. And the music wasn't enough, and singing about it didn't help me. I didn't, it wasn't enough. So I said, if I pick up the trumpet, maybe this will help me. I'll just, play. And I started, I was so frustrated. It was so difficult. And I'm such a proud person, arrogantly proud. Maybe you see, it can be good and it can be bad. Because at the end now, nobody can say they taught me the trumpet. So I figured it out myself. Got the same way with the saxophone. How are the kids? See, now, how do I get a good tone? Yes, I know Miles Davis. I know MDZ. I know this. I know this. But where am I going to find Femi in this? So it's taking me a long time. I think I'm getting there. But in that frustration, I think I turned out a better person. All my anger seemed to die. I started to see the world in a very different view, from different perspective, and this is where I come up with work on myself, and maybe we're getting it wrong by trying to change the world instead of ourselves. And maybe if I change myself and people see, what have you done? I say, oh well, I just practice this. I'm not going to force you to do this, and I think it's more of an internal battle, human and government. You see, government is totally wrong in trying to force people to be their way, not the real way, not to see things from an objective point of view.
If we could talk about the album Journey Through Life, it's out April 25th. What inspired the title and what themes are you exploring in this project?
Ah, my daughter was going through very difficult times. She had an operation, and we were all so sad and scared. There was so much emotions. Being a composer, it was probably one of the saddest days of my life. I was so scared, but I was hearing all this music, and I thought that I could use this energy to take my mind out of being scared, because I noticed she was very brave, and I looked her in the eye and I was, wow, she amazed me so much. I said, wow, I always think about politics. Why don't I think about what um, what are my main concerns, or what has my virtues, or what has really held me strong? And this is family, my children, my family, my mother, all my heirs, my sisters. This has always been a very solid foundation that I could say is unbreakable. And I thought, not advice, but let me think about it. Things that have really made me who I am. So, like I'm saying, as you pass through life, uh, remember it's just for a period of time. I've always known that. So I said, okay, put it on. As you go through life, remember, so that's a nice line. So I start to build. And so if you listen to the song, it's really don't, obstacles will come your way to break family and make us fall apart. And we need to, it's like a trick. Life is like a trick, and you always have to, it's like an exam, you always have to pass through. So even if you fight, you always have to find that you don't let love, you don't let hate win. It's very difficult, especially if you have a misunderstanding, to forgive and move and let that love, family, hold all of you together. So it's the advice I've always given myself. So I thought I should put it in the album. Some tracks there are tracks that I never was able to record because they seemed too complicated, or I thought other songs were, people preferred other songs to those songs. So they was were on the back end of the pile. So I thought, what is going to happen is I'm going to die and I will never get the songs recorded. So I better add these songs to the album. So I think there are three of them on that. And so I built the song really through that title, the album, Journey Through Life. And while I'm reflecting on that, I thought it was important Of course, the theme of my life, which is always political, I won't forget about that. One of the songs, Chop and Roll, explaining why nothing surprises me again politically in Nigeria. From the burning of my father's house, the killing of my father's mother, the that was issued. If that happened then, what could surprise somebody like me at my age? There's nothing that will surprise me. I mean, it's getting worse, it's getting ridiculously crazy. So, and when people just say this happened, I'm just saying, I mean, it started then. Why are you surprised? If there was no justice then, what makes you think there will be justice today? And so that's is my state of mind.
I mean, after so many years of making music that was driven by politics and your music being a vehicle for activism and truth, I'm wondering if you're now at the point where you want to kind of live in a more peaceful state of mind.
I would love a peaceful state of mind. I don't know if that's possible with what goes on around me. The Ukrainian war. I mean, there's so much pain. I was in San Francisco about 2 years ago. I've never seen so much poverty in America. In France, I mean, people are facing difficult times globally, and being able to travel, I get to see this on the road. Don't see people smile like before, like in the 70s. It's like it's all gone. The news we hear. So there's a track called "Work on Myself." I've gotten to a point. Probably this is maturity and age. In Nigeria, there's so much tribal misunderstanding, and this is stemmed from the political, trying to make people, individuals, fight each other and hate each other. This never, we were also together because Pan Africanism, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Lumumba, my father, you know, you never went to school and asked, where are you from? We just had friends. We didn't say what, let me use the word tribe or no, ethnic group are you from? We never asked those questions. We just sat together, ate together, and now it's become very tribalistic here. And it's sad. So, in my thoughts, last year or so, going to this album, which is the song Work on Myself, I came to maybe the problem is people who want change, the mistake we make is we try to change the world. Maybe we need to change ourselves. And by reflecting inwards, that change comes. Because I think every individual is a universe. The human spirit and body is so complicated that we all say, yes, you have to do it. It's my way or no way. And that's where the fight comes. I think when we reflect internally, first, there is no fight because you are dealing, the fight is within you. So I said, from now on, I'm going to keep fighting myself to make myself a better musician, a better person, a better father, better. I'm going to really, do I believe in virtues, be patient, all practice. And now I put all these things fully in full motion. Don't get annoyed. Don't get upset. Understand, feel, be, be part, you are part of the universe, not against the universe. So you don't flow against it. Flow with it and feel the harmony, feel the melody. You see, here, put your ears on the ground. Hear the music. Hear the music in the forest. Hear the music. There's music everywhere, the way we talk, the way we make love. And I used to think, what was education about? You could not pass to become a professional in any field without goodness. And this is where virtues came. So this was the discipline to make you come out of it. So you to come out of education. So you could not be a doctor without having passed those virtues of having patience. Because if you are not patient, how do you deal with your patients? If you are not tolerant, how do you sit down to listen to somebody's case? How do you go into surgery if you don't have that mindset of peace and all those virtues as a human being to be godly? I'm not saying God, but godly to the path of righteousness. Now, same as music. It can be frustrating. Practice, practice, practice. There's so much discipline involved in it. And if you don't study virtues and practice it, you will never become an accomplished musician. So these are the things I've known all my life. And I think probably with time and being in a country like Nigeria where there's so much chaotic chaos politically, I've now said, I think maybe, yes, I think I've been going against the tide. Maybe a self-reflection on, and this album is really about that, saying, work on myself. I think that probably is my favorite track in the album.
Afro beat versus Afro beats. I know you've talked about this before, but I feel like it needs to continue to be reiterated to the youth in terms of the difference, because the history of Afrobeat is so important. Could you talk about that a little bit in terms of like your perspective on the distinction between the two, and how you feel about how both are shaping the global perception of African music today?
The difference between Afrobeat and Afrobeats, I don't want to delve into that because it will be like I'm criticizing the young people and I don't want them to, it might be heartbreaking what I'll say. But I'll advise them to pick up an instrument. My father was a multi-instrumentalist composer. He studied music, he could read, he could write. He wrote every single part of his instrument. You probably have heard that he said, without Tony Allen, there was no Afrobeat. That is the biggest, excuse me, bullshit ever said about my father. That is the biggest lie. It's such a big lie. He tried to sell to Tony Allen, so they said to lie. Yes, he was a good drummer, but Fela taught him his style of drums. Fela came up with all his drum patterns. We saw it. I was a child, a teenager, a man. We saw Fela do this. Fela wrote all the parts, and I keep asking them, okay, why didn't Tony Allen tell us, okay, which songs did you put for Fela? Which songs did Fela tell you to play? He couldn't, because there was no song that Fela would say, hey, put the drum pattern for me. Impossible. You could not, when Fela was writing, if a pin dropped, he looked, who? And then you will say you have an idea in his composition. Impossible. Look, when Fela arrived, rehearsals, everywhere changed. If there was like pandemonium, when Fela arrived, there was complete silence. You couldn't even say, you couldn't call your friend, hey, Tunde, you couldn't. Because you see, it goes into a kind of trance. And then everybody's waiting to hear the melody and the rhythms. And the way Fela used to work is he'll call the drummer, he'll call the guitar, the rhythm guitar, the tenor guitar, the percussions, and the bass. And then when he plays this for about a week, he'll call the singers for a while, then he'll call the horns, and then he builds the music slowly. It takes him probably a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Then he plays this for about 2, 3 years before he records the music. So he transforms so many times. And we all are there witnessing this musical transformation. When Fela records a song, he never plays it again. This is Fela. So when they are lying, so I asked them where. There was a journalist in America who went on social media and said a lot of nasty things, thinking I'm jealous of that Tony Allen was a good drummer or whatever. I'm just correcting the facts. You know, I love Tony Allen, but what his crew and his management and himself did, it's a blatant lie. It's a big lie. And if we don't let the youths know the truth, then we distort history. So it is for me to tell the audience and those of us that know the truth about who and how Fela worked. Show me the article. Don't say Fela said. Where's the magazine? What date? Bring it out. Where is the tape? Where is the recording? Where? Show me. And I'll keep my mouth shut. So I asked the journalist, where is it? Till today, 5 years, I'm still waiting for him to produce. He says he's looking for it. Is it that difficult? Is it that difficult to find that a great, iconic guy like Fela will say such a huge statement and the whole world will not go, wow? So when Fela was writing, he now called you Tony Allen, put the drum part. And Fela will not come publicly and say, I did, Tony Allen put this drum part. And the press in Nigeria would have gone crazy. One article somewhere in Nigeria, you will not find one where Fela, or radio or TV where Fela says this, because it was a lie. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a big, huge, fat lie. And I will not allow that lie. It's a lie. That lie is a liar. So the Afrobeat is young people who identify with my father, probably some of me, because many of the beats, they take my beats as well, which is okay. I mean, it shows you're on the right path in your life. But there's a huge difference. There's a huge difference between Afrobeat and the Afrobeats. And I'll just implore you to go and listen to Fela from the very beginning and see how Fela transformed. His first Afrobeat song was called My Lady's Frustration. Dum, 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 dum. Pam, para, pam, pam, para. You see, I know we grew up in this. We were there. We felt it. We lived it. So anybody that wants to lie, you see, the good thing about Fela's life is before Fela even became famous, he had children. My elder sister, me, my mother was there. And my younger sister, who unfortunately she died. So we know we lived it. So you can't tell us about Fela. Nobody can tell us about this man because we were there. We saw the beatings, we saw the imprisonment, and I will never be one that will tell you Fela was perfect or always right. Like I told you, he didn't teach me. I held it against him. Till now, I forgive him because what his life stood for was more important than my life. What he went through, the beatings, I saw practically every bone on his body beating. In 81, they handcuffed his hands to his leg. I was arrested on that day. The beatings they gave him, I was weeping and, so helpless. This is my father. And the police, he said he died on that day. He felt his spirit leave his body. And what should I be angry at a man that was going through all this, believing he was fighting for justice? His mother was killed. His house was burnt. So it's forgivable. And maybe if I did have formal education, my music would be boring. Maybe, I don't know. But I've arrived here. I know what to do with my children. So I think life is a big experience and we learn. Every day we learn. We have to keep on teaching ourselves to get better with our lives and help ourselves get better. Because at the end of the day, we are all going to live this life. What do we take with us when we die? Even the sax I love and trumpet I love so much, it's going nowhere. But what will go with me, probably if there is life after death, is the sweet melodies and the moments I've shared with that instrument. So, nothing material is going to leave this planet with me, but only the spiritual aspect, intelligence, the emotions, probably. That's what I believe will live with us. How truthful did you live your life as an individual? So these are the things that must guide you as a musician. That is why musicianship, I think everybody has to study music. Because then you put yourself in a place where you have to keep on learning till you die. It's so much. We thought there were 12 planets. Now we know there are millions, billions of planets. We thought it was one universe. Now they say billions. Now they're saying billions of galaxies. The more we know, the more insignificant it seems we are in this universe. And this universe of one of the millions of universes. Isn't that crazy? So, who the hell are you to be pompous and arrogant and think you are the ultimate to the human race? So, I think we all need to cool down, rethink. So, that is all I'm describing to you now. Is the difference between the Afrobeats and the Afrobeats. The Afrobeat is some spiritual, should I use S-H-I-T? Shit going on here, man. You see, when you listen to Fela and you go to things like Ikoyi blindness, Shakara, Lady, when you hear, Fela was not just even a musician, he was an engineer. Fela used to mix his music. He used to produce his music. He used to produce everything. Ironically, Fela even produced Tony Allen's two compositions because Tony Allen couldn't write, so Fela composed it for him and put it in Tony Allen's name. We know this history. You see, Tony Allen left. Tony Allen never even believed in the struggle. That so Fela the warrior that was fighting, that was getting beaten, comes out and writes a track like Kalakuta Show or Alagbo Close. He comes with this rhythm like a warrior. He said music was the weapon of the future. And you that was playing the warrior drum set didn't believe. So how did you compose the warrior drum set? Tell me. How? If you do the when you didn't believe in it, how did you come about it? How can you open your mouth to say such a big lie? You see, the whole of this country knew how Fela worked. Then you ran to France, got some French people as said lying till the Americans now and everybody quickly ran into the institutions to lie to the children. Fela said, without Fela never said nothing like that. So you tell your young audience, this guy, Fela, it's, you see, when great bands in America and all these countries write, it's very rare you find the composer writing all the parts. The bassist comes to the bass line, and the drummer puts. So everybody's contributing to that masterpiece. It was not the way Fela wrote. Fela was sole composer, arranger, producer of his music. And that's the way he taught somebody like me. See, I write everything, I write all my music. So from me, you could easily see how Fela was doing. Now Fela is the foundation of what people like me are doing. So it's like me saying to hell with Fela. Can you imagine me saying to hell with Fela? I mean, that's like cursing myself. So because I think, oh, I have bang, 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 and truth don't die, I will say, fuck Fela. Won't you think I'm going mad? Or you want me to start to lie that Fela didn't inspire me? Or you want me to lie that jazz did not inspire me? Or you think, you see, so of course, the intelligent will say, so, Mr. Kuti, so where did you get your inspiration from? Oh, I got it from God. You never say, I don't like, sooner or later, people will find out the truth because it's a lie. You see, and the same way with when you're lying about Fela's work. So this is the distinction between the Afrobeat. The Afrobeat was never about making money, about showing off. Nothing like this. It was music for fighting for freedom, justice, and the guy behind it paid a very high price for what he stood for. I'm not saying that Afrobeat can't be about a love song because Bang 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 is a kind of love song. I'm not saying no, but it has to be very intellectual. I'm not saying the Afrobeat is not intellectual. Now, don't get me wrong, because you see, they will now think that I'm trying to discredit them. I think Afrobeat moves deeper into cultural and traditional African way of life and has minimal influences from outside because you have to find that core spiritual connection, which at the end of the day is just human connection. But the deeper we go and trace our ascension, what English is giving me, ancestors, the clearer we can now see where did the human race go wrong? Because now we're talking about climate change. So, is it that people could not make these things then? Or people said, wow, this way is going to bring problems in the future as we see today. So we lived, the African way of life was living in harmony with our surroundings. So this is Afrobeat.
Amazing. That's going to clear up a lot of misconceptions.
A lot of people will like it as well, don't worry.
Femi, we're on our last questions for the main section.
Okay.
Last question is, For aspiring songwriter artists who look up to you, what advice would you give them?
Be yourself. Be as original as possible. Listen to this interview, you will understand what I said. Just be yourself. Be yourself. Be original. And that's the only way uh, appreciation comes, by being yourself, by being true. You have to be not true to yourself, by being true. You have to always be true. This can be very difficult. You don't compromise integrity. Not your integrity as the word itself. Don't compromise those things as a person. You have to practice. Don't cheat. You can't cheat. You're not going to go anywhere by cheating, by thinking, you say you're doing 4 hours and you just do, and you just think, okay, I've done 4 hours. You're cheating. You can't cheat time. You have to work. And everything. Lastly, I would say there's nothing easy in life. Nothing is easy. What is the beauty? What is beautiful is when you do the work, the rewards come and you say, wow, wow, I was part of that, or we did that, or I managed to do this. And even after that, you can always see there's a way to improve because you say, wow, I could have done this way. And that's where knowledge and wisdom comes. I tell my children there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is you know that fire will burn you. Wisdom is fire has burnt you. So you are wise that, yay, ow. So wisdom. Somebody, so I'm wise that, yay. So I have knowledge and wisdom. Another guy just knows that, wow, the fire, so it burns and it's going, from your reaction, it's painful, but he doesn't have the wisdom of the pain. He's just saying, wow, it must be painful. I have the wisdom. Wow! Look, then he'll ask, how was it? Yay! Whoa! But he will just say, wow. Ooh. But he will never have wisdom. So be wise. Every mistake in your life brings greater wisdom in your life. And it's those mistakes that make you a better person.
That's going to go a long way for a lot of people. And I thank you so much for your willingness to share. I think anybody that hears everything that you had to say today is going to be very helpful. Femi, would it be okay to transition to the rapid fire
Yeah,
round now?
quickly. Yeah, fine.
Okay, here we go.
It's hot here, sorry.
Okay, number one, what DAW do you use and why?
I think we use Logic and Proto. I don't care which one. It is the engineer that decides, really.
Do you have any favorite plugins?
Again, as long as the sound is good, the engineer really decides. Do you like this? Okay, I like it. I don't like it. I'm not. I don't delve there.
What is a sound that always brings you joy?
Wow, what is the sound that always brings me joy? That's such a difficult question. My children's voices. When they say, "Daddy, I love you," you know, it's musical too. It just makes me melt.
What is your reaction or facial expression when you know you made some heat?
It's unbelievable contentment. It's a like when I finish an album. It's you can't measure the joy.
Morning or night studio sessions? Why?
Like I said, it's like negative and positive. You have to find balance. I love day because day you are working with so much energy and counter energy. It's like a big fight in the day. In the night, it's more love and peace. So it really depends on, for me, what you want. This album was really created in the daytime, so you can hear a lot of fighting in the music of desperation trying to arrive somewhere and prove a point and so much that kind of energy. In the night, uh, maybe when you are mixing and you have done all the work, you probably need peace and quiet to really hear what you have done recording. So I think you really need night and day. I would say maybe daytime for recording because you need a lot of energy, especially when you want the horn players to play with so much velocity and all that. And then in the night, I would choose the night for when I want to just like the work is done, me and the engineer, good friends, a lot of love in the studio, coffee, mixing.
What do you understand now about the music business that you didn't understand when you first started?
I used to sign bad contracts, and luckily for me, all those bad contracts died. So I believed. I remember signing this contract because, sorry, I have to tell you this story. I had no money to pay my hotel bill. My band was stranded in Paris, and they brought this contract and said, sign. And I knew, don't ever sign without a lawyer, right? And I would have gotten arrested if, because nobody who are owing 5 days or 7 days of hotel bills. So don't sign, give the lawyer. I said, we need to pay the bill. So I signed, and the hotel bills were paid. Along the way, the company collapsed. So I got out of the contract. So I take those big risks, but I would not advise anybody. Get a lawyer. Make sure you get good lawyers. Don't sign anything. I've taken all my life, probably because of how I came out of with my father and all this. I've always taken big risks. I would never advise anybody to do that. I'm kind of a lucky guy.
If AI technology was somehow able to take over our jobs as music creators,
It can
what
never
new
take
career path
it will
would you
never take
choose?
it. AI is a robot, you know. If AI manages to really dominate, then the human will die of sadness and boredom eventually. And it will be so painful. It will be it will be painful to the soul because what makes us unique is AI doesn't, it can pretend it has those emotions and all those things, but it doesn't. It can even pretend to cry, but it's not really crying. It can fake. AI is fake with human compositions and playing the instrument. We are going to miss and understand that importance of human connection. So maybe AI is here to teach us a long, painful um, lesson that people like me already know. Just saying, I will never go there, AI. Why? So where is human intelligence? I think AI, I was joking to somebody, is the devil in the machine. Who is going to now tell us, don't, you can't make love now. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, get back to work. And AI is going to take over, and the machines will take over, and then we're going to be in trouble. Then we're going to miss our freedom of human interaction, human existence, as it should be. Our touch, eye connection, love, holding the instrument. How can you want AI to play an instrument with no mistakes? Yes, it will be smooth. It will be, oh, you go, yeah, but there will be no feeling. It will still be robotic. And then you might be able to tell AI, make it sound like a human, but it's still not human. There's no way you're going to walk into a human. So let's stop. So I think we should make sure, have that boundary, you know. Let's understand night and day. I'm not going to deceive myself. AI, write my letter. Tell my baby I love her, and will write, compose. Then your baby must be very stupid to know that if she, that means she doesn't know you and cannot recognize it was AI that wrote that love letter because you don't interact like that already. And AI will make it so sweet. So if she's fooled by it, then she wasn't your baby in the first place. You understand what I'm saying? So if we need AI to dictate, to tell us right from wrong, this is how stupid some of us are. And we're going to learn, I think we're going to learn a very big lesson.
Femi, we're now at the final question of
The
the rapid fire round.
final question.
We have made it. We have
You
made
have
it.
made me talk too much. I talk
Uh,
too much. I gosh, man. I have to stop talking,
I'm
really.
I'm sorry, but this is one of my most blessed interviews that I've had. It's been such an honor to have you on the
Thank
show,
you.
and I really say this from the bottom of my heart. We are rooting for you in your continuous journey, and I I love the irony of the album being Journey Through Life, and yeah. So that's a great segue into the last question. What's next for Femi Kuti? Anything you want to promote to the Sonically community?
My new album, Journey Through Life, and as soon as it comes out, I'm going to tour in America, Canada, and whilst I'm on tour, I'm going to be working on the next album, getting inspiration from the crowd and the fans and everybody, building my future as I go along with it. But first and foremost, let's enjoy Journey Through Life. I hope you all have a
Mm,
great time listening to it. I hope it inspires you like it inspires me to today. I'm still listening to it because I just, like I told you, I teach myself my words as well. I don't think it's my words as such. I'm just a medium the higher forces use. So I learn. I keep practicing to learn and learn and keep learning. I hope we all learn and we become better peoples eventually, where love, joy, happiness will truly reign supreme one day.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. We'll definitely be looking out for Journey Through Life. We'll look for you on the road, right?
Yes,
Europe, America,
Canada, yes,
Canada.
yes, Canada, we're in Canada. We have about 5 days. Don't ask me where. Canada, don't ask me what date. I just jump on the plane and get the job done.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Femi.